Professor Horror. Scary Stories.
My door is always closed when I sleep. My wife thinks it's just one of my idiosyncrasies, but there's another reason. When I was young, I loved sleeping with my door open. The sounds of my parents moving around the house, watching television, etc. always comforted me knowing I was protected. One night, when I was 8 years old, all this changed. It was like any other night. I had a good day at school, just finished playing through a few levels of Super Mario Bros. 3, and was ready for bed. I walked out to see my mom was cleaning the kitchen and my dad was on the phone talking to somebody. "Good night," I said quietly enough to not disturb my dad on the phone, but to make sure they heard me. My dad smiled at me and waved goodnight, but continued his conversation on the phone. My mom came over and kissed me on the forehead. "Good night, mijo. See you in the morning." I walked into my room and started getting ready for bed. Normally, I slept with my side away from the door. I liked to hear the sounds coming from my parents, but the light sometimes bothered me. I was always asleep within 5 minutes, but this night was different. I heard the same sounds that I always heard at night, but I felt something. Not something watching me, but that something was there. I tried to relax and fall asleep, but that nagging feeling of something being at the door bothered me. I slowly turned over to look at the door. Was that a fingernail I just saw? I thought. Maybe Mom and Dad were just passing my room. I turned back to the wall and tried to reassure myself that it was nothing. What was that? It couldn't have been my mom or dad. My mind was racing with the possibilities of what I'd just seen, and suddenly the feeling returned. Gathering my courage, I quickly flipped myself towards the door. This time, it wasn't just a fingernail. There were two long fingers, about twice as long as my dad's, with sharp, pointy fingernails. I couldn't move, paralyzed with fear. I began to try and shout, but my voice was trapped in my throat. Suddenly, the fingers disappeared. I took this moment to hide under my covers. I'll be safe under here. I breathed easier under the safety of my blankets. Nothing should be able to get me here. I could still hear my parents in the living room. Could they not see what was outside my door? Surely if something was going to attack me, they would notice. It only took a few moments before my illusion of safety melted away. Again, I felt this presence of something at my door, and I knew I was not safe under my blankets. I peeked out from my blankets, and this time an entire hand was visible. It had impossibly long fingers that were wrapped around the frame of my door. I saw one of its sharp fingernails slowly start to scratch along the inside of the frame. I was not safe. I needed help. I did what any 8-year-old does when they get into trouble. I shouted, "Mom!" The hand quickly disappeared from the door frame. I took this opportunity to run as fast as I could out of my room. My mom was sitting on the couch looking at the television. "Mom! Mom!" I said, relieved to see her. There was something at my... I didn't get to finish before she responded. "It's safe to leave your door open. Now, go back to bed and close your eyes." "But Mom, it wasn't..." I tried to finish my statement, but she cut me off again. "It's safe to leave your door open. Now go back to bed and close your eyes," she said, still staring straight at the television. I stomped my feet a bit in protest, but decided to not listen to her advice and close my door. I laid down, double-checked that the door was still closed, and turned over. It was a very restless night. I could only fall asleep for 10 to 15 minutes at a time, checking my door every time to ensure that it was still closed. After a very long night, the sun finally rose and it was time for me to get ready for school. I walked to our kitchen, rubbing my eyes in exhaustion. My mom saw me and said, "Good morning. You look really tired. Did you not sleep well?" I tried to just close my eyes like you said. I yawned before finishing my statement, but I couldn't leave my door open or close my eyes. My mom looked at me, puzzled. "What are you talking about? I never told you that." "Yeah, you did, when I got up and you were watching TV. Mijo, I went to bed after I finished cleaning the kitchen. I didn't watch any TV. You must have been dreaming." She looked at me and smiled. Yeah, I must have." I tried a weak smile to show I wasn't scared. That was not a dream. It felt too real. Years passed, and I never slept with my door open. Eventually, I rationalized it must have been a dream. How else could I explain what happened that night? I have my own children now, 2 boys and a girl. I make sure that every night when I tuck them in, the door is closed as I leave. My middle child is 8 years old now, and he looks a lot like me when I was younger. Yesterday morning, he came into the kitchen rubbing his eyes and looked exhausted. Geez, up all night partying. I smiled as I took a sip of my coffee. No, I couldn't fall asleep. Can you make sure Ginger, who's our cat, doesn't sneak into my room again? She was in your room when I tucked you in? Yes, and somehow she opened the door to get out. I got a little scared. That's why I came out to talk to you. He was looking at the ground, nervously tapping his foot. I tried to listen to what you said, but I didn't feel safe with the door open. Um, I I couldn't even finish my thought. It's just a dream. It had to be a dream.